In the frozen heart of 15th century Wallachia, a name was whispered in terror across Eastern Europe. A name that made hardened warriors tremble. A name that would inspire the most famous vampire in history. This is the story of Vlad III, known to the world as Vlad. His methods were so horrific, so unimaginably cruel, that even his enemies, who were themselves no strangers to violence, recoiled in horror. He didn't just kill his foes, he turned death into theater, into art, into a weapon of psychological warfare that would haunt Europe for generations. This is not a story for the faint of heart. This is history at its darkest, a chilling look into the true face of medieval brutality. Join us as we uncover the real story behind the legend. If you're fascinated by the darker side of history, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our deep dive into the life of the... You think you know the story of Dracula, the fanged count in a cape, lurking in a Gothic castle. That's just the story. The real man was far more terrifying. To understand the monster, you have to understand the boy, and his story begins not with a bite, but with betrayal. Our journey starts in 1431, in the fortified town of Ciasora, deep in the heart of Transylvania. This is where Vlad Dracula was born. His name didn't mean vampire. It meant son of the dragon. His father, Vlad II Dracul, was a proud knight of the Order of the Dragon, a brotherhood sworn to protect Christianity from the expanding Ottoman Empire. The dragon was their symbol of faith, courage, but symbols can be twisted. The dragon's fire can either protect or destroy. The world Vlad was born into was a brutal chessboard of power plays and shifting elite. When he was just 11, his own father made a horrifying political move. To appease the powerful Ottoman Sultan and secure his own rule, he handed over his two sons, young Vlad and his brother Radu, as hostages. They were sent deep into enemy territory, living pawns in a deadly game. It was a guarantee of their father's loyalty, bought with their childhood. For 6 long years, Vlad endured a living nightmare in the Ottoman court, while his younger brother Radu adapted, even converting to Islam and befriending the Sultan's son. Vlad received. He was defiant, and for that, he was subjected to unspeakable cruelty. The constant beatings and psychological torment didn't break him. They forged him into something hard and sharp. Every lash, every insult, was like fuel poured onto a growing fire of pure, unadulterated hatred. He was learning a valuable lesson from his captors. Power comes from fear, and mercy is a weakness. Then, in 1447, news reached him that would extinguish any light left in his soul. His father had been betrayed and murdered by his own nobles, the boyars of Wallachia. He was buried alive. His older brother, Mercia, suffered an even worse fate, blinded with red-hot iron stakes before being buried alongside their father. Vlad was alone, his family destroyed, his throne stolen. In that moment of absolute loss and seething rage, the boy died, and a monster was born. He had a new purpose, a singular, all-consuming goal: revenge. He would return to his homeland, and he would make them all pay. Wallachia would soon learn the true meaning of terror, not from a dragon, but from its son, and his name would be whispered in fear for centuries to come. Thanks for watching. If you want to uncover more. In 1456, a 25-year-old man named Vlad seized the throne of Wallachia, a small principality nestled between powerful empires. This wasn't just another power grab, it was the beginning of a legend written in blood and fear. His first major act would send a chilling message to everyone, friend and foe alike. On Easter Sunday, 1459, Vlad hosted a grand feast. He invited the boyar, families the very nobles, who had betrayed and murdered his own father and buried his brother alive. They arrived in their finest clothes, expecting a celebration, a reconciliation. As they ate, drank, and laughed, believing their past betrayals were forgiven, the doors were barred and Vlad's soldiers surrounded them. The older nobles, the ones directly responsible for his family's demise, their devotion. Then, to ensure their turbans would never be removed, he ordered them nailed directly to their skulls. By 1462, word of Vlad, the Impaler's brutal tactics finally reached the ears of the mighty Sultan Mehmed. This was the same legendary sultan who had conquered Constantinople just 9 years earlier. Furious, Mehmed assembled a massive army of over 90,000 men, determined to crush this defiant Wallachan prince once and for all. He was marching to end Vlad's reign of terror. Facing this overwhelming force, Vlad could only muster about 24,000 soldiers. He was outnumbered nearly 4 to 1. A conventional battle would mean certain annihilation, but Vlad didn't fight conventional battles. He had a different kind of weapon, one that was far more powerful than sheer numbers. He had fear, and he was about to unleash it in a way the world had never seen. On the night of June 17, 1462, Vlad launched one of the most audacious raids in all of military history. The infamous night attack under the cover of darkness, he and his most elite soldiers disguised themselves in Ottoman clothing. They slipped past the sentries and crept deep into the heart of the Sultan's sprawling camp. Their mission was simple: cause absolute chaos and kill the Sultan himself. Suddenly, the night exploded. Vlad's men tore through the camp, setting tents ablaze and cutting down soldiers as they slept. Panic spread like wildfire. The Ottomans, confused and disoriented, began fighting amongst themselves, mistaking friend for foe in the flickering firelight. Vlad, a whirlwind of death, fought his way toward the Sultan's magnificent tent, hoping to decapitate the entire invasion with a single decisive blow. He came incredibly close, but in the chaos, he attacked the tent of 2 haranguing viziers instead. Though the Sultan escaped with his life, the psychological damage was immense. His elite janissaries were shaken, his commanders were unnerved, and his army's morale was shattered. They had survived to the night, but Vlad was far from finished. He had one final, horrifying spectacle prepared for them. As Mehmed's weary army cautiously advanced toward Vlad's capital of Targovik, they encountered a sight so grotesque, so profoundly disturbing, that it stopped the entire invasion force in its tracks. It was a forest, but not of trees. It was a forest of the impaled. Stretching 4 miles before the city walls were 20,000 stakes. On each one was a decaying body Ottoman, prisoners of war, captured scouts, and even Bulgarian civilians. They were arranged in gruesome, geometric patterns. At the very center, on the tallest stake of all, was the captured Ottoman general, Hamza Pasha, still clad in his fine silk robes. The air was thick with the stench of death. Sultan Mehmed II, the conqueror of empires, a man who had seen countless battles and ordered thousands of executions, was physically sickened by the sight. He stood in stunned silence, looking out at the macabre display. His own chronicler recorded his words: "How can we dispossess a man who does such things? He is a man who uses the very terror he creates as his greatest weapon." For the first time in his illustrious career, Mehmed the Conqueror ordered a retreat. He hadn't been defeated by an army, but by the sheer, inhuman terror. But why? Why did Vlad choose such extreme methods? A story about a golden cup Vlad placed at a public fountain in his capital city. He declared that anyone could drink from it, but no one should steal it. That cup stayed there, untouched, throughout his entire reign. No one dared to even think about taking it. That's the kind of power his reputation held. But Vlad's cruelty wasn't just a military strategy. It went much, much deeper. In one horrifying incident, He invited all the sick, the poor, and the disabled in his land to a massive feast. He asked them if they wanted to live a life without any more worries or suffering. Of course, they all eagerly said yes. He then had the doors of the hall locked and burned the entire building to the ground, with everyone inside. He later claimed he was freeing them from their earthly troubles. This wasn't mercy. This was a man who saw human life as completely disposable. Another time, a foreign merchant complained that some of his money had been stolen while in Vlad's city. Vlad found the thief and had him impaled immediately. But then, in a shocking twist, he had the merchant impaled right next to him. His reasoning: the merchant was at fault for being so careless as to let his money be stolen in the first place. So, what was really going on inside his head? Modern psychologists have looked at Vlad's life and behavior, and the consensus is pretty chilling. It's believed he suffered from severe post-traumatic stress, stemming from his childhood as a political hostage of the Ottomans. This was likely combined with an antisocial personality disorder and clear sadistic tendencies. He didn't just use violence as a tool. He seemed to crave it, refine it, and perfect it as an art form. He was a master of psychological warfare, but also a deeply disturbed individual whose actions still send a shiver down our spines. But even the Impaler couldn't rule forever. His own allies, terrified of his unpredictability, turned against him. In 1462, after an Ottoman invasion, his own brother Radu, who was now a loyal servant to the Ottomans, was installed as ruler with Hungarian support. Vlad was thrown into a Hungarian prison, where he languished for 12 long years. Legend has it that even in his cell, he couldn't break his cruel habits, supposedly spending his days impaling rats and birds. In 1476, he managed to reclaim his throne. But this second reign was incredibly brief, lasting only a few months. In December of that same year, during a battle against the Ottomans, Vlad III was killed. The details of his death are murky. Some stories say he was assassinated by his own men, who were finally fed up with his endless brutality. Others claim he was simply cut down by Ottoman soldiers in the heat of battle. What we do know is that his head was cut off and sent to Constantinople, where it was displayed on a stake-a-grim. Yet fitting end for the Impaler himself. But here's where it gets even stranger. What happened to his body? His supposed grave at Snagolf Monastery was excavated in the 1930s, and they found it empty. To this day, no one knows for sure where the physical remains of Vlad the Impaler truly rest. His legend, however, was far from dead. In 1897, an Irish author named Bram Stoker would make Vlad's name and title, meaning son of the dragon immortal, in his now famous vampire novel. The historical monster became a fictional one, feared for drinking blood rather than spilling it. Today, Romania has a complicated relationship with Vlad's legacy. For some, he's a national hero who defended his homeland against impossible odds. For others, he is a brutal war criminal whose cruelty went far beyond even the harsh standards of the medieval era. The numbers are just staggering. Conservative estimates put his victim count somewhere between 40,000 and 100,000 people. This was in a country with a population of only about 500,000 at the time. That means he may have killed up to 20% of his entire nation in just 6 years. To put that in perspective, that is a higher percentage of the population than those killed during Stalin's purges or Mao's Cultural Revolution. In terms of sheer, concentrated brutality, very few rulers in all of history can even. He's known by many names. Vlad III of Wallachia, Vlad Dracula. But the one that truly echoes through the centuries is Vlad the Impaler. This is the story of a man forged in the crucible of captivity, shaped by endless betrayal, and unleashed upon a world that would never, ever forget him. His tale begins not on a throne, but in a prison. As a young boy, Vlad and his brother were handed over to the Ottoman Sultan as political hostages. For years, he lived at the heart of the very empire he would one day fight, learning their language, their culture, and their methods of warfare and control. This wasn't just an education, it was an indoctrination into a world where power was absolute and cruelty was a tool. When he finally returned to Wallachia to claim his birthright, he found a kingdom plagued by corruption and internal strife, with nobles, or boyars, constantly plotting against him. Vlad knew that to rule, he needed to be feared more than any rival. He needed to make an example. So, He invited hundreds of these boshars and their families to a grand Easter feast. After the meal, he asked them how many rulers they had lived under. Their answers revealed a history of disloyalty and king-making. In that moment, Vlad's judgment was swift and absolute. The older nobles were impaled on the spot. The younger, able-bodied ones, were marched 50 miles to the ruins of a castle and forced to rebuild it with their bare hands. Many died from exhaustion. The message was sent, loud and clear. Loyalty to Vlad was not optional, but his most infamous chapter was yet to be written, when the Ottoman Empire, led by Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror, marched on Wallachia with a massive army. Vlad knew he couldn't win a conventional war. He was outnumbered and outgunned. So, he turned to a different kind of warfare. Psychological warfare. He employed guerrilla tactics, poisoning wells, burning crops, and launching terrifying night raids on the Ottoman camp. But his masterstroke was something far more horrifying. As the Sultan's army advanced, they came across a clearing. It was a forest, but not of trees. It was a forest of stakes, stretching for miles, with the decaying bodies of 20,000 captured Ottoman soldiers impaled upon them. The sight was so ghastly, the stench so overwhelming, that even Mehmed the Conqueror, a man who had seen his share of battlefield horrors, was reportedly sickened and turned his army back. Vlad had won, not by breaking their army, but by breaking their spirit. So, who was he? A national hero defending his homeland and Christianity against an overwhelming force? Or was he a sadistic monster who reveled in cruelty? The truth is, he was a product of his brutal time. A man who believed that mercy was a weakness he could not afford. His methods were extreme, but they achieved his goals. They carved his name into history with a bloody knife, ensuring he would be remembered not just as a prince, but as a legend. The Impaler is long dead, but his shadow stretches across time, a chilling reminder that sometimes the most effective tool of power is absolute, unyielding terror. Thanks for watching, and if you're fascinated by the darker side of history, make sure to subscribe for more.